Hi, my name is Sungi Kulamala, and I own and operate a gym in Ottawa, downtown, called Sungi Fitness. My business has not been interrupted by any of what's been going on with the protest. I am in full support of the protest because I've actually taken the time to come down and speak to these people, get to know them, get to know why they're here, and hear their stories, which is what a lot of people aren't doing. And I believe that most people that are just spewing out hate and all this ugly language towards these truckers, those are the people who are staying at home and not making the effort to come downtown and talk to these people.
That's exactly it. So we heard of all these people from across Canada coming here for whatever reason they have. So we said, you know what, let's go out. Let's talk to all of our neighbors from across the country. And so far, every single person we have met has just met us with so much love, so much understanding, so much peace. And they made me cry so many times just hearing their incredible stories for what they're fighting for. And I just love everyone so much. And we're just having this amazing conversation with these people here. And I'm so amazed at all of our beautiful community.
All right, guys. So once again, we have another attempt at trying to stop the Freedom Truckers / Freedom Convoy from getting support from the people. And if you guys haven't figured out by now, that this is an institutionalized effort, a systemic effort to stop what is a populist movement. I don't know what to tell you, right? I mean, the left, they claim, right, that they're the real populist, okay? They claim that, the right-wing populist movement is not really, really populist. But, listen, here's the thing. A real populist movement, a real movement that is by and for the people, the powers that be, whether that's corporate America, whether that is, the politicians, the establishment, they're not going to like it, right? And they're going to do whatever they can to stomp it out, okay? Because a lot of these politicians are actually not for the people, okay? They're actually really for corporate America. That's what they're really for. And when you see a movement like this, right, like this Freedom Trucker movement that is getting so much backlash from the government in the mainstream media in such a coordinated way, that is how you know that it is actually a real populist movement, right? That's how you know, okay? So what is happening here is truly unprecedented stuff. As you guys remember, they raised about $10 million through GoFundMe, right? And GoFundMe all of a sudden came out and said, well, due to some police reports of violence, right, allegedly, we are not going to disperse those funds. At first, they attempted to steal the funds and say, hey, we're going to, give the funds to, charities of our choice, probably some left-wing BLM and Tifa groups or whatever, right? That's probably what they were going to do with it. And then after the backlash, they decided that, hey, you know what, we'll just give y'all back the money because y'all not cool with us stealing it, right? And giving it to the left, okay? So, the free market stepped up to replace this need, which is what's supposed to happen, okay? This is what's supposed to happen, ideally when you don't have government intervention. As GiveSendGo, which is a Christian-owned funding platform, say, hey, you know what? We'll take the donations and we will facilitate these donations going to these truckers, okay? But lo and behold, again, we don't really have a free market, right? As the fascist Canadian government has ordered to freeze the Freedom Convoy trucker funds from GiveSendGo. So now I want you guys to understand, you have the government stepping in and telling a private company that, hey, you can't give these funds to these freedom truckers, right? You can't do this, right? We're not going to allow you to do this, right? Which, again, is incredible stuff, man. It really is, okay? That these politicians, like the actual government of Canada, is not allowing people to freely send their money to people and causes that they support. Again, I don't remember this type of backlash when people were sending millions, if not billions of dollars to BLM while their supporters destroyed neighborhoods and looted cities. But before I get into this, I just want to let you guys know, if you like what I do, if you like my channel and you would like to support, the links to do that are in the description below. You can support the Patreon, you can support the PayPal, you can support the merch. There are multiple ways to support the channel if you would like to do so. So without further ado, let's actually read about what's going on here with the Canadian government trying to freeze GiveSendGo's funds to the Freedom Truckers. Christian-owned funding platform GiveSendGo said it would not comply with an order by a Canadian court to freeze over $8.6 million in donated funds destined for the Canadian Truckers Freedom Convoy 2022, saying the court has no jurisdiction over the U.S.-based company. The government of the province of Ontario, Canada, led by the extensively conservative Premier Doug Ford, put in a request with the provincial court to legally freeze the funds, a request that was granted. The Freedom Convoy 2022 campaign has reached 8.6 million with a goal of 16 million to support Canadian truckers as of this writing. Posting from its official Gab account and also on Twitter, GiveSendGo stated that the courts of Canada have no jurisdiction over the company and that the Freedom Convoy will receive its funds as normal. The company statement reads, "Know this, Canada has absolutely zero jurisdiction over how we manage our funds here at GiveSendGo. All funds for every campaign on GiveSendGo flow directly to the recipients of those campaigns, not least of which is the Freedom Convoy campaign." All right, so here's the thing, man. Again, I just find it amazing the attempts to stop this movement, right? I find it absolutely fascinating, right? But hey, for once, we have a private company that is stepping up against the fascism and authoritarianism of the government and saying, no, right? We're going to do what we're supposed to do with these funds, and we don't care what you say. Now, part of the reason why this Freedom Convoy is getting so much backlash is because of the fear of how far this protest could go. Not just in Canada in terms of inspiring, other protests, or not even in America. There's fear that this Freedom Convoy could inspire a global movement.
So I think Canadians generally, and maybe the international community as well, is looking at this and we're just scratching our heads and wondering why we really haven't had a more fast solution. Because in failing to act, quite frankly, I think this movement has spread within Canada and also now might be spreading internationally.
Yeah, and we want to talk about that because the longer they stay, the more they do inspire others across the globe. We know that there have been similar demonstrations in New Zealand and across Europe, tapping into the anti-vaccine sentiment, pandemic fatigue, and also inciting this civil disobedience. And now the US Department of Homeland Security says trucker convoys like these could soon disrupt the Super Bowl in the United States and, of course, the State of the Union and other big events. How bad do you think this could get, and how do you stop this?
Well, honestly, I never expected it to get really to this point. I mean, I was well aware of who was organizing this event, but if you had told me this would spark off a worldwide rebellion of angry people with industrial machinery, I would not have believed that 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, so you see the real fear here, guys. The real fear is not just what's happening in Canada. It is how far that could actually spread. And of course, again, the mainstream liberal media, they do as they do, and they're going to blame right-wing media for fueling these dangerous protests. Take a look.
Right-wing media, as I'm sure you're aware, is really fueling this. So let's take a listen to what we're seeing there.
The question is, how long before protests like this come here?
Will we need our own trucker rally to end all of this insanity once and for all?
Is the trucker convoy coming to America?
What is your response to that encouragement?
Well, obviously, we cannot incite and encourage people to break the law, especially when it means they're throwing other, Americans out of work and creating an economic crisis that we were just recovering from. It's incredibly dangerous. It is.
All right, I think that our signal with the governor has frozen a little bit. We're going to try to get, and she's back. All right, Governor Whitmer, I'm sorry, I was asking you about this encouragement by the right-wing media of this blockade.
Well, it's dangerous. They're inciting and encouraging people to break the law and to do so in a way that devastates so many hardworking people. This is families. This is businesses in America that rely on this commerce free flowing. This is 5 days and it's already taking a toll of tens of millions of dollars. That number compounds over time.
Okay, guys, so as you see there, right, that is the left-wing liberal media, CNN, basically characterizing, asking the question of, is this going to come to America? Is this going to spread, right? No, that's encouragement, right? That's encouragement. That's an encouragement of violence, according to CNN. Just asking the question of, okay, is this something that's actually going to spread around the world? Are more people going to join in on this? Again, it's incredible how they frame this stuff, right? And then they bring on Gretchen Whitmer to come on and talk about how this protest is dangerous because of the lives that it affects, and the fact that, it stops commerce and it, puts people in danger and blah, 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 blah. But again, the mainstream liberal media, along with the Democrats, we can never let them forget that just a year ago or a year and a half ago, they were supporting one of the most violent movements that we've seen in a long, long time, and they pretended like it wasn't violent.
That ain't a riot, what we're seeing right now in Minneapolis. They are strictly principled anti-fascists, and they've taken a principled stand to stand against white supremacists and white nationalists wherever they may show up.
I argue to you tonight, all punches are not equal morally.
It says it right in the name, Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting. Listen, there's no organization is perfect. There was some violence.
Any reasonable person would say we shouldn't be destroying other people's property, but these are not reasonable times.
But thank goodness for the looters, man.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I don't care that much about statues.
Shouldn't that be done by shouldn't that be done by a commission or the city council, not a mob in the middle of the night throwing it into the harbor?
People will do what they do.
Do not get it twisted and think that, this is something that has never happened before, and then this is so terrible, and where are we, and these savages and all of that. This is how this country was started.
People get mad, and people get sick of it. People are risking COVID to explain to this country that we're fed up.
Most of the major movements in American history have started at the grassroots level and at some point have turned into direct conflict with American government. So remember your history before you judge your present.
Thuggishness is thuggishness wherever it comes from politically, and we should be the first to call it out.
I disagree.
Yeah, so what happened to all that, right? What happened to all that from the Democrats? Okay, being so, pro grassroots movements, okay? Oh, man, this is just what happens, okay? Even some people, you had Chris Cuomo, just flat out just say, hey, you know what? Violence is cool. As long as I agree with the protest, I'm cool with it. You have people like Joy Reid that just flat out ignored the violence and tried to act like it wasn't violent. But I'm just saying, across the spectrum, these people supported this stuff. Again, movements that were overtly violent, right? That called for violence. Now you have a movement that is not calling for any violence, right? That is literally mostly peaceful, okay? And for whatever reason, it is being characterized as the most violent thing in the world. Again, I have to highlight this stuff because it shows you what the agenda of the mainstream liberal media is. They're not about telling the truth. They don't care about the truth. What they care about is their narrative, right? Whatever they agree with, whether the protest is violent or not, they're going to frame a narrative around it to make it seem favorable, to make people get on board with it, okay? And if they don't agree with it, they don't care whether it's peaceful or not. They're going to say, hey, this is bad. This is violence. Again, the stark difference in coverage between the BLM protests and these Freedom Convoy protests tells you exactly what you need to know about how, like Trump said, the mainstream liberal media is honestly the enemy of the people. They really are when they do stuff like this, right? And then they want to boohoo, whine, and complain when people don't trust them. Because it's stuff like this where you have a stark difference in the coverage and the way that you're characterizing things that shows you exactly why the mainstream liberal media cannot be trusted by the people, right? At least not to present anything objectively, okay? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.